Thank you for joining us, everyone. Today, we're here with Danielle Doerfler, Director of Athletics at Fontbonne University, a familiar face within the conference. But for those of you who may not know Danielle, if you could give everybody a little bit of your background from when you were a student all the way up until now.
Yes, thank you for having me. I started out after undergrad as a K through 12 teacher. So I've done my time as a school teacher and junior high and high school coach. About 7 years of that before I got my master's completed. After my master's, I had the privilege of working at McMurray College for 10 years, multiple jobs there. But head volleyball coach, of course, for about 7 seasons. Got to be SWA there and assistant athletic director, SAC, Title IX coordinator, all the good D3 hats. And now I've been at Fontbonne University for 3 years. And I am obviously director of athletics here and then deputy Title IX coordinator as well.
Right. So as you just mentioned, multiple hats within your professional career. So Title IX, we're obviously celebrating its 50th anniversary this year. Title IX had already been in place when you got into athletics. But what do you remember still seeing the inequities back when you started back at McMurray and back through IC and all that?
Yeah, when I was first thinking about those inequities just when I was younger, I really thought a lot about junior high and youth sports because
Mhm.
I would say in the 90s, that was the biggest thing that now we look back and notice a lot of inequities. So, there wasn't those sports offerings during my time frame. There wasn't those sports offerings for females at the junior high and the middle school and the youth sports level as much as there was for the boys. And, I just don't think it's something that you realized at the time, obviously. And now you look back and you're like, wow. When I got into high school, and into that later 90s, the sports offerings at the high school level during that time, in my opinion and my experience, were equitable. So
Mhm.
I really just remember seeing a lot with that junior high, middle school time frame. By the time I got into late high school, by the time I get into collegiate athletics, I think there was a lot more of the equity. Looking back to in the 90s, I think a lot about just the inequities that existed with covering female sports nationwide. I think that's huge when you look at, and we're not perfect even now in 2022, but when you look at now versus the 90s, there just wasn't that high profile covering nationwide of female sports like there should have been. So I think those were the big things that stuck out to me within my experience just growing up.
Right, and that's a great point that you mentioned there. Title IX is just not college athletics. It's not just high school. It's the youth sports programs as well. And we've really seen that kind of the growth and development of the female athletes. I mean, you look at the Williams sisters, you look at women's soccer players having that opportunity to develop at a young age and really grow their talents has really paid off and made some outstanding athletes that we watch today. So. Um, when did you first become aware of what Title IX was?
Well, I'll be honest, really not until undergrad, right? Not until I got to college. And my degree was in physical education, like I shared earlier. Got my degree in physical education and health to be that K through 12 teacher, got my endorsement to teach in Illinois. And so then I would say that was the first time I'm in those classes. And, my instructors are having those conversations, educating me about Title IX,
Mhm.
but it wasn't until then that I really understood it. And then went on, of course, to get my master's, which is in athletic leadership. And so spent a lot of time on Title IX during those periods. And then just educating myself as well as I entered into higher ed on really what makes up Title IX and how encompassing it is. So not until undergrad, really.
Yeah. So now you are Title IX coordinator at Fontbonne. As your role as an administrator, what do you focus on to ensure that Title IX is a success?
Well, I think, like I mentioned a minute ago, Title IX encompasses so much. But if we look at it within athletics, I think, as an administrator, you have to take a look at providing equitable experiences for your student athletes. That's got to be top. So you're evaluating their sports experience. You're evaluating what are you offering as sports, as D3s, We're enrollment driven, right? So we're always looking at adding new opportunities, new sports, new hirings. And so I think just looking at that whole equitable experience for our student athletes, recruitment, equipment, facilities, everything. I think any administrator would say, that's constant, right? Because it's a revolving door. From the educational side of things, I think for us, and I did this at MAC as well. Title IX within athletics provides an opportunity to celebrate things like Girls and Women in Sports Day, right? And to highlight the great things that are going on within your athletic department, specifically targeting those female student athletes, those female coaches, administrators. So I think that's a big part of it as well. It's a constant evaluation that you should be doing within, your department, just to make sure your student athletes are having, the best experience they can, and your coaches are being provided opportunities as well. So it encompasses so much within athletics.
And so we know it's Title IX involves athletics, but a lot of people don't know it does not apply to just athletics. As someone that's involved in multiple groups and multiple clubs and activities across campuses, uh, how has Title IX been effective outside of athletics?
Brian,
What
are you
have you
trying to say
seen?
I'm busy? Are you trying to say I'm busy?
Just a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. It does apply to so much outside of athletics. And that's kind of part of that educational piece that people need to understand. When I was Title IX coordinator at MAC, and then now as deputy here at Fontbonne, to me, outside of athletics, when you just look at Title IX within a university, I think it provides you an opportunity to educate your campus, right? You need to provide a safe campus. We all want to do that. And so I think when you look at Title IX outside of athletics, the biggest things that I worry about and I want to educate about is, sexual misconduct prevention, supporting survivors of sexual assault, creating a safe campus environment. How do we treat others? So, huge amounts of educational programming, right, that you want to do for your faculty and staff and students. It provides the opportunity to do like climate surveys. I've only done one of those during my tenure ever as a Title IX coordinator, but very cool to do a climate survey. Because you can assess what really are the problems on your campus, right? Where are the discrepancies? What are the issues within your campus? And some of them are Title IX, related issues. And so, I think also the other thing outside of athletics is Title IX provides you collaboration with so many other departments on campus, right? Whether you are providing educational programming or, it's a civil rights law that just provides huge opportunities for education across campus. And so, as a deputy Title IX coordinator, and when I was Title IX coordinator at MAC, just jumping on those educational opportunities of making sure that as a university, you're doing what you need to do for Title IX, you're doing what you want to do for Title IX, to provide everybody with, a safe experience campus-wide.
Great. Well, I want to thank you again, Danielle, for taking time out to talk Title IX with us today. And thank you again, and we'll see you around.
Thank you.